on this computer. Hello, now we're recording. All right. So there will be a recording available for the YourTube trade show today, and I will be sending this out to all of you, as well as uploading it on YouTube so that it will be available for you to share with your clients that are not here today or share with fellow tubies. If you can, please keep yourself on mute during our businesses as they present. Happy for you guys to make the decision whether video on and off. And as you can notice, this is a very casual catch up. It's more of a community gathering. So please feel free to do what you're comfortable with. I'm hoping for a 10-minute question time at the very end, pending all tech works well. I would recommend you avoid the chat box because I want you all to speak out loud, unmute yourselves when we're at question time. I will, however, download the chat, and if there are any particular questions, if we don't get through them during this session, I will email them to the particular business that you want to ask the question, or that you've asked to pose the question to. So feel free to put questions in the chat. Just know it might not be answered today, but it definitely will be answered by email. And take notes. I mean, from my personal experience, you taking your own notes is the most effective way to remember things. So please take notes. And as you can see, my slides are not very explanatory. They're more little pictures and icons because I'm keen for you guys to take notes of the particular businesses and how you think they fit into your Tubi life or your client's Tubi life. Who we have with us today is this amazing group of 8 businesses. So we've got Melanie from the Blend magazine, we've got Misty from Free Arm, Yvonne from a podcast and a newsletter, Gag and the No Feeding Tubes show. We've got Sarah from Aussie E, Megan from A Simple Patch. We've got Emily from Whole Enteral, Stacey from Tubi Fun, and Natalie from Children's Nursing Queensland. So a wide variety of magazines, podcasts, fun Tubi stuff, a blended formula, and a nursing service and a foundation. So a variety of businesses here that all serve one purpose: to help you feel supported and let you know that you're never alone. Before we jump in, as I said, this recording will be made available, but also your emails will be shared with the businesses after this event. Some of them may send you through some information after the event on how to order their products, but also please flick through their websites because they all have really functional, brilliant websites that you can just jump on, send them an email, write them a question, and they're all really, really approachable, brilliant women. And finally, a very important point is please seek your trusted healthcare professional support before purchasing or before thinking of changing what you're doing with your Tubi life. All right. And I put the word trusted there is because I know lots of us have lots of people involved in our care team. I'm hoping that each of you at least has one trusted health professional that understands your Tubi life. So seek their advice and support as you learn about the businesses and figure out how they work for you. So we will get started. I will stop my screen share and I'm going to move on to our brilliant first speaker, which is Melanie. Melanie, I'm going to spotlight you now. And make you co-host because you're screen sharing. Oh, you're already a co-host. So do you want to screen share? Beautiful.
Yep, I will. Thank you, Lena. You're so organized. I'm already a co-host. And thank you so much for having us and for creating this incredible trade show for our community. My name is Mel. I'm the creator of The Blend lifestyle magazine for the tube feeding community. Here she is. I started this magazine just over 2 years ago when my son, Arlo, who is now 7, began tube feeding. And we had a really rough start to this. Up until just before his 5th birthday, he'd been eating pureed food. He has quadriplegic cerebral palsy, so he's always found eating a little bit tricky, but he seemed to be doing really well with his pureed food until a modified barium swallow showed that he was silently aspirating on every single bite and sip that was going into him. 2 weeks after we discovered that, he got a G-tube, and all of a sudden his diet of breakfast, lunch, and dinner changed to 6 bottles of a synthetic commercial formula pumped through him throughout the day. And I know commercial formulas work beautifully for countless people around the world, but unfortunately, this one did not work for Arlo. He was spewing, he was refluxing, he was having a really rubbish time of it, as were we. And his normally very sparkling, cheeky persona was fading away, and we were freaking out. Fortunately, thanks to the power of social media, a mother on Facebook told me straight, commercial formula just isn't going to work for your kid. Blend up what he was eating before, just a little bit thinner, and get it into him. And the second we did that, everything changed. He got better. He went back to having his breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks, sat beside his medically boring sister. He got his spark back. He put weight on. It was wonderful. But I was really bothered and worried that there were families like mine and people going into hospitals, getting a tube, and coming home thinking that commercial formula was the only option for them. And I was also really worried that people were feeling alone and sad, like we were at the start of our tube feeding journey, and they weren't aware that there's this incredible global community of families and people who are thriving while tube feeding and making it work for their lifestyles. So I thought, we need a lifestyle magazine, and a very sexy one at that. My work background is in writing for magazines. So I buddied together with a former colleague of mine, Edie Swan, who's an incredible designer. And together we now make this lovely, quite chunky magazine, which is an annual publication. I'll just share my screen with you now so I can show you what this thing looks like. All right, can we all see that?
Yep, perfect.
I will just endeavor to flick through. Here we go. So this is issue 2 of the blend, which came out in February this year, Feeding Tube Awareness Week. So the blend is free to read online, and 1,000 free print copies go out during Feeding Tube Awareness Week each year. And they're distributed through pediatric therapy centers and through some of my beautiful partners, like Every Human and Tubi Fun, Whole Enteral and Aussie Inc., who are here today, and also the wonderful Wholesome Blends. The Blend is the only magazine of its kind in the world, and its readership has gone bananas. Over 10,000 people have got their nose into this thing all around the world so far. I've found that there's a real hunger for stories and knowledge from our community, and it is so exciting to be sharing some of this in this form with the world. I'm currently working on issue 3 of the blend, so watch this space for that. It'll come out during Feeding Tube Awareness Week 2024 in Feb next year. And for now, you can read the blend issue 1, issue 2 for free online at theblendmag.com. And the free print copies, unfortunately, I think mostly have all been distributed already, but you can buy it in print if you want via Amazon. I think that's it from me, Lena. Again, thank you so much for holding this incredible event for our Tubi community, and I cannot wait to hear from everyone else.
Thank you so much, Mel. That's awesome. Beautiful. Next up, we've got the lovely Stanley, sorry, the lovely Misty, Misty Staley from the USA, from Free Arm. So I will spotlight you, and you are a ready co-host. So go ahead.
Wonderful. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Lena, for having us. This is so fun. And you can see here a picture of the free arm, or pictures of the free arm. It holds gravity syringe feeds, pump feeds, and infusions at the hospital, home, and on the go. And I want to play just a short video so you can see a little background of the free arm and the free arm in action.
Hello, we are Misty and Will Staley, and we created the Free Arm, a tube feeding and infusion assistant inspired by our son Freeman. Freeman was born with complications, and his first 3.5 months were spent in the NICU before we were finally able to take him home. After 5 weeks, Freeman's breathing became labored, and we had to return to the hospital, where we spent 5 long months in the PICU. Sadly, Freeman lost his battle with pulmonary hypertension and passed away when he was 10 months old. Freeman had a feeding tube his whole life, and Will and I often found ourselves needing an extra hand. That's why we created the Free Arm, to help other tubies of all ages by holding gravity feeds, pump feeds, and infusions. We miss Freeman every day, but we find joy in knowing that the Free Arm continues Freeman's legacy of love by helping others. The Free Arm muscle is available in 4 fun colors: pink, white, blue, and green. The Free Arm clamps to flat and rounded surfaces like hospital cribs, tables, beds, strollers, and more, and works great for traveling in the car and setting up feeds in a hotel room. Let's set up your Free Arm. After taking your Free Arm out of the box, unfold your Free Arm, straightening it out completely. Next, loosen the clamp on the Free Arm muscle and press the quick release. Slide the clamp to fit your surface and tighten the clamp. Slide your Free Arm clip nut over the ball joint, then attach your Free Arm clip. Tighten the clip nut and turn your clip in the desired direction. Attach a lightweight feeding pump, 2.5 pounds or less, to the metal cylinder using your pull clamp included with your pump. Then hang a feed bag up to 1,200 milliliters from one of the small hooks on the Free Arm clip. Hang feed and flush bags, a gravity bag or an infusion bag, up to 1,200 milliliters total, from the small hooks on the Free Arm clip. You can also use the clip to hold a Boley bag or a gravity syringe. You can then bend the arm to the desired height that feeds are tolerated best. The Free Arm bends up easily to fit in your bag, making eating on the run a breeze. The Free Arm provides a consistent way to eat at the hospital, home, and on the go. We hope you enjoy your new Free Arm.
So as you can see, the Free Arm, it wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my son Freeman's little life. And just a little background of some feeding challenges that we had. So it all started when Freeman was in the hospital. Nurses were unable to stand and hold the gravity syringe bedside because they had other kiddos to look after. So they would always rig it. And so they would either tie it over the top of the tall canopy crib or tape it to Freeman's swing. Or if I was holding him, they would tape it to my shirt, but a lot of times it would fall off, we would end up wet. And then that string over Freeman's crib was always in the way. And so if doctors needed to rush over and bag him because he was aspirating, he spit up and aspirated, then they were batting at the syringe, which really became a patient safety issue. Then once we discharged home, it was me sitting on the couch trying to hold Freeman and hold the gravity syringe and put meds in and put milk in, but also hold his passy in for therapy so he could suck as his belly was filling up. And it was just really difficult to balance everything. So I tried tying that scary ribbon over the top of Freeman's crib, but it was even closer to him, which caused an even bigger safety issue. So then that's when my husband and I started brainstorming and thinking about what can we do, and we created the Free Arm. So now the Free Arm throughout Australia and New Zealand, it's supplied by AMSL, which we're so excited to be working with them. And I will send out a link to their website and also a link to 2 different forms for Australia and New Zealand. So if you're a clinician, you can reach out to them and ask about possibly purchasing the Free Arm for your patients. So thank you guys. Here's a couple of pictures here of some of our fun Australian tubies and beyond. So thanks for having us.
Thank you so much, Misty. I always get goosebumps watching that video. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you. Beautiful. Next up, we've got Yvonne. Where are you? There you are. All right. So Yvonne, I'm going to spotlight you, and
Hi.
the floor's all yours.
Hi, thanks everybody. I'm still a bit wet-eyed about that little story, so thank you for that, Misty. I'm Yvonne, and I had a feeding tube for 15 months, and I'm just going to start by saying I have a podcast called The No Feeding Tube Show, which has really annoyed some people because they think I'm being disrespectful to feeding tubers, and I'm not. And I'll just say that was my life goal, was to no longer have a feeding tube, hence the name of the show. Who am I? I was living in Vietnam with a very sore throat and came home to Australia to discover that I had oropharyngeal cancer. I had a third of my tongue removed, both tonsils, the tumour, 30 lymph nodes, chemoradiotherapy, and I had a feeding tube for 15 months. Now, by way of background, I'm a qualified chef, a winemaker. My entire career was around food, wine, events, marketing, eating. I went to the opening of an envelope. That's who I was as a person. So having a feed tuber or peg tube feed wasn't big part of my life, really. It wasn't something that I was prepared to put up with. And that's just gives you a bit of an indication about how determined I was to get off it. I had no idea about dysphagia. I had no idea about peg tubes or feeding or commercial formula, or I literally went as an adult at 53 to essentially being a baby, really. I had to learn to eat, speak, feed, suck, breathe again. So I think, you know, I'm now 4 years out. I think I'm doing okay. I was actually asked to be on MasterChef, and I turned it down, thankfully, because that would have been disastrous. But what it did enable me to think very solidly about was speech language pathology. And I've just put an article up recently about what happened with me with speech language pathologists here in Australia. I discovered a gap between peg tube feeding and actually transitioning back to real food. Now, as a foodie, a qualified chef, you'd think that I'd have the skills to know how to do that. And I actually found it really challenging and really difficult. So I ended up writing a program called the Mind Food Body Program, which is an online resource available worldwide to people to help them transition off a peg tube back to oral eating. And Melanie, I would support your thinking around fresh food. I was never told to put fresh food anywhere near my mouth or my tube, and goodness me, if I had my time again, I would absolutely be putting fresh blended food into that tube. I noticed immediately the difference in me, my mental clarity, my skin, my overall mental mood, my emotion, everything changed. But the real driver for me is the social aspect of tube feeding and the loss of the ability to eat in social settings for me was the thing that absolutely killed me. And I've had to create this program to help others so that we can create the best food life that we can possibly create for ourselves, no matter where we're at. Now, I still have dysphagia. I still have trouble eating, but I now travel internationally. Again, I travel nationally, regionally. So I have to manage that food process whilst I'm traveling. So look, I found a bit of a niche market there in that I'm trying to create resources for clinicians, but I guess specifically speech language pathologists and dietitians around how to help people and the sort of information that perhaps we forget to tell them as to how to get back to eating your best food life regardless of your particular situation. So what do? I have 2 podcasts. One is a No Feeding Tube show. I'm about to relaunch a new one on the 2nd of June, which will be called Gag. Again, like me, nothing like stirring up a bit of trouble. But I thought Gag for me was really appropriate because that's just what I continually do now. I've written a couple of books. I wrote this one, which is Easy Follow, Easy Swallow, how I actually transitioned off my peg tube back to oral eating after 15 months. Took me 3 months in the end. And I have lots of online resources for people to access worldwide, really. And I think that's really it. I've tried to do that quickly, so I hope that was quick.
That was excellent. Thank you so much, Yvonne. And Yvonne, initially, she said to me, "Are you sure you want me there? Because my show's called the No Feeding Tube Show." And I said to her, "Absolutely, I want you here because I think every opinion is important. and every perspective is important for everyone to hear. That's what today's about. It's about a community feel and the different perspectives with feeding tubes. And I have clients that have said their feeding tube was their lifesaver, and I have clients that said I just want to get off it. I don't like it. And both opinions are perfectly valid and perfectly okay. So thank you so much for being here, Yvonne. All right, next up, we've got the wonderful Sarah Gray. Sarah, you're going to screen share, and I think you're already a co-host, and I will spotlight you. The floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. I'm going to show you our website. So, my name is Sarah Gray, and I'm the CEO and founder of Aussie Inc. And I'm with a patient organisation representing people living with an eosinophilic disease. And that's my daughter, Bella, who's 19, and she was diagnosed with that when she was 18 months of age. And our charity also promotes Australasia's Feeding Tube Awareness Week. And because EOE is one of the many conditions that someone might have a feeding tube for. But importantly, Feeding Tube Awareness Week is for everyone. So no matter what the reason there may be for having a feeding tube or tube feeding, that's why we're here and what we do. So I was just going to show you through our website here. So our campaign was actually in February, in 5th, 11th February. So stay tuned for 2024, which is actually going to be I've got the dates here, 4th and 10th of February 2024. So stay tuned. So on our website, you'll find information about support networks that we have. And we also do a virtual support group chats you can register for here. We're currently working with the University of Wollongong on a quality of life survey for feeding tubes, so home enteral nutrition and alimental formula. So it's on our homepage here. So if you haven't taken the survey yet and you'd like to, it is closing soon. So please, I might actually send an email link afterwards, after the show. And we've got some awareness resources here, which of course will be updated for 2024. So that is another part of our website. And we had some wonderful partners and some of them are obviously here today. So they're also a good opportunity to go through and have a look at some of the businesses and other organisations that are associated with feeding tubes. So they purely helped share about how raise the profile of Feeding Tube Awareness Week and make as much noise as we could. During the Awareness Week, we actually had 93 landmarks light up around Australia, which we, of course, will be doing for 2024 again. We did purple and blue. For purple for a lot of feeding tube supplies are coloured purple and blue, just to represent what flows through the tube, whatever it may be. So that's what that page is about there. Please feel free to visit our story and read some of the wonderful tubey stories that we have on here. So I won't be able to go through the whole website because it's pretty in-depth, so I'll just... and we also shared some specialist spotlights, which some of the people are here as well today. And so you could have a read through, and we try to spotlight some of the amazing work and research that happens in this area. In 2022, Feeding Tube Awareness Week, we actually had a virtual education program, and the lovely Lena spoke at that as well, as did Melanie. And so the videos are still on here to have a look at. You just click on there and there's the video. So there's some of the work and Emily's on here too. Yeah. So if you'd like to have a look, the video is still up for you to look at it at your leisure. And we also have links to tube fitting information and websites, tube fitting supplies and accessories, some of the businesses that are obviously here today as well. It's quite an extensive list, associations and support, training options, books and magazines, and other links. So this is regularly updated website, so feel free to email us anything that you think should be added as well. We've got some additional resources like the lovely Blend magazine you just heard about, free book comic book that includes about tube fitting you can download, as are these. For our Awareness Week, we also have colouring in pages and sibling certificates. And we also have information about us here, about Aussie and about ESO diseases, some information about tube feeding, general information, and how you can get involved and contact us or subscribe to our newsletter. And yeah, so check us out at feedingtubeaware.com.au. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Sarah. As you can all see, there's so much effort that has been put into building all of these businesses, and so I get goosebumps just every time one of you speaks, because it's information that everybody needs to know about to feel like there is a community and no one's alone with a feeding tube. So please reach out. Next up, we've got Meg from the lovely Simple Patch. Meg, I've got to find you. Oh, there you are. Alrighty, you're going to be spotlighted and go.
Thanks, Lena. Good morning, everybody. So I'm from a Simple Patch. We design and manufacture adhesives that are for nasogastric and oxygen tubing. People also use them for G tubes, other places, even as a simple Band-Aid and things like that. We do lots of different designs. We can print and cut any shape. We got into making these because I have a daughter that has a medical condition that we were making other adhesives for. And unfortunately, one of my staff's children got sick with cancer and ended up with obviously feeding tube, oxygen tube, everything that they get in hospital. And she asked me to start making these tapes for her. It wasn't something that we ever sort of thought we would go into, but once we started making them, obviously there was a lot of other people that then needed them. And unfortunately, another friend, her son got diagnosed with cancer as well. So we were then giving them to her. And it just sort of escalated from there. So I'm going to share my screen here with the website. And it shows what the tapes actually look like. And you can sort of see them on and things like that. So we make them either pre-cut to sort of fit the left or the right side of the face. So you can see there, we've sort of designed them so that they sort of sit to the contour of the face with a little piece that's designed to sort of sit under the nose, but some people obviously put it on top of the nose. It really is just a personal preference for people. And they're a really good one if you don't want to have to cut the tape or do anything yourself. You can just put it on. Another option is these little shapes that we do. We found that there's obviously a lot of children that have issues with adhesives. So, the less adhesive, the better. So if you can sort of use just a tiny piece and it's actually going to hold the tube, that's a much better option. Again, there's lots of great designs and things like that because, these little ones don't want plain tape and they obviously don't want to wear the tube in the first place. So if we can do something to try and convince them to wear it, keep it on, we will do whatever we can in that regard. There's a couple of little photos there. So the other option that we have is doing it in the lengths. The lengths are great for people, especially like little babies. They're smaller, they're only a 25 mil wide tape. So, and they come in like a 480 mil long. So you can cut it to whichever size that you need. It's just a great option for lots of sizes, varieties. Like I said, you can use it for anything. My kid will get a cut or something like that. So we'll just run out and get a piece of tape and stick that on there. So even if you end up with some leftover after your tube journey has finished, hopefully, you can still use them for other things as well. So lots of different things on there. And then we also have the option of customs. They're a little bit painful to make, so I don't have them available all the time. But I do love to do that because I know it makes a big difference for a lot of people or children to be able to put, their favourite football team or their favourite Disney character or something on there. So, like I said, they're time consuming, but I do them because it makes me happy to do it for other people. So the tapes are all hypoallergenic and latex oxide free. We actually have this tape manufactured ourselves in a company in Korea that do it for us. They make it specifically for us. It comes in just as white, and then we obviously print and cut it all here ourselves. It's all had very extensive testing reports on the adhesive, so we know it's suitable for even the most gentle skin. But there's lots of information on our website as far as, if you've got issues with adhesive allergies, there's other things that you can put underneath There's sprays, there's creams, things like that. So if you've ever got any issues with adhesives, please feel free to reach out, because it's something that I obviously have a wealth of knowledge on, because it's my world. And, you know, we try and help wherever we can, regardless, even if you're not using our product. You know, we want it to be easier for you to have to deal with these things in life. So that's sort of it from me. Thank you, Lena, for letting us come on and share our product.
Thank you so much, Megan. That was awesome. That I really value your presence, so thank you. Alrighty, next up we've got Emily. I'll have to find you on the screen. Ah, there you are. Emily's in a car right now, but it's fine. It looks it looks great. So I'll spotlight you, and I think you'll be sharing as well. Let me know if you can't share.
Thank you, Lena. Yes, I'm in a car. I apologize. I didn't have enough time to get from a client's house back to the centre this morning. But thank you for coordinating today. It's a great opportunity for us all to hear what everyone else is doing. By way of introduction, I'm Emily Lively. I wear two hats. I'm a speech pathologist by trade. I've just completed my PhD in tube weaning, so paediatric tube weaning and optimising paediatric tube weaning practices in Australia. And as part of my work with tube-fed children over the last 20 years, I've had a lot to do with children who aren't tolerating feeds, much like Mel spoke about, and as Yvonne spoke about in the adult population, just not tolerating the commercial blends or the commercial formulas, which led to a partnership with my co-founder, Ali Howe, who is the mum of an ex-tubie who really struggled with the commercial formulas as well, and took to making her own blends or bringing blends in from the States, which was really, really expensive. And together we have spent the last 5 years developing Enrich, which is the first product for our company, which is called Whole Enteral. So Enrich, if I just do a little screen share here. And of course I've set it all up, but now it's going to start from the start. So this is myself and Ali. We're both mums. We get what life is like. We get how busy it is, add on the complexities of tube feeding, and that just adds a whole other dimension. So together we've developed Enrich, which is a whole food meal replacement. It does meet the stringent food standards, Australia and New Zealand guidelines for a formulated meal replacement. That means that the micro and macronutrients have to be really specific to meet this guideline. So it has taken us years to get a product that is shelf stable, so you don't need to refrigerate it until you've opened it, that meets those stringent requirements. And we also wanted in our first product something that was accessible to people with gut sensitivities or allergies. So this product is dairy, soy, gluten, nut, and egg free. It's also vegetarian. It does have a little bit of honey in it. So for some vegan families, they may choose to use it as there are no other options, or the honey might be the sticking point. It is made from fresh, real food, sourced from the Adelaide Hills. I'm based in Adelaide. It's made here in Adelaide. We sell to families Australia-wide and internationally. And what was I going to say? Yep, those macros and micros are really really important to us in selling this product. Obviously, we suggest that you transition to a blended food under medical and dietetic advice. You need to know that it's right for you or your child. And this product here can be used for children and adults. Obviously, upon dietetic advice that your trusted, I think was your word, Lena, dietitian will be able to let you know how much is a suitable amount, and it also depends on how you'd like to use the product as well, whether it's something that you have in your suitcase for when you're traveling, whether it's something you have in your pantry for the emergency when you haven't been able to blend up your own, if it's something that you have to go on, to be out and about for the day, something to take into hospital. It is commercially sterile, so it can be taken into hospitals, and it can be used with a pump or syringe. So we've really worked to get the viscosity to be right to go through a pump without degrading the macronutrients there as well. So families can purchase this product through our website, which is www.whole.net.au. If you have NDIS funding, you can certainly use your NDIS funding. If you're self-managed, just purchase it through the website. If you're plan managed, just contact us for an invoice that you can then send to, or we can send to your plan manager. And once it's paid, we'll ship it out to your doorstep to arrive. And of course, it's sold in different quantities. Some families have it on a subscription, so it just automatically rolls over each month they receive their subscription, or you just purchase on an as needs basis. So we're really excited to bring this to the Australian market as the first whole food blended feed that meets those really stringent guidelines for meal replacement. And we are working on other products and other packaging, but like many of the other providers here today, will have experienced the challenges of product development and working with companies and trying to find exactly what you want to do in a market that hasn't been done before. So there's always little challenges for us, but we are more than determined to make it work for families in Australia and internationally who require tube feeding.
Thank you so much, Emily. Thank you so much for joining us today and for that awesome presentation. Alrighty, next up we've got Stacey from Tubey Fun. The floor is yours, Stace.
Thanks, Lena. Thanks for having me. And thanks to everyone for coming today and joining in and just getting as much information out there as we can for tube feeding. So I'm Stacey. I created Tubey Fun in 2017 after my son Callum, who's just here, was born in 2016. And he had
Marianne.
Quite a number of
They didn't tell me
challenges
that it wasn't going to be milk.
when he was
Sorry, give me 1 second, Stace. I think someone hasn't got themselves on mute. Yep, all good now. All yours, sorry.
Sorry. Okay, so my son Callum was born in 2016 and we created Tubey Fun in 2017, and he was born with quite a few swallowing issues. We spent about 7 months in hospital with him after multiple surgeries, and we just didn't know what was going on. We came home and no one wanted to touch him. No one wanted to go near him. He had a feeding tube. It was very foreign to everybody. It was too medical. They didn't know what they were looking at. Everyone was scared of him. At the time, I had my 2 other boys who were 2 and 3 at the time, and they were quite nervous. They didn't know what was going on with their brother. And I thought, you know what? It's a feeding tube. We need to celebrate this thing that's keeping him alive. Without this tube, he wouldn't be here. So as a mum of someone who is a child that was tube fed, it was just racing through my head. What's wrong with my child? How do I help him? What's going on? And for me, I needed to try and break that cycle. So I went, you know what? I can't find what I'm after. I'm going to make it. So what I did to try and occupy myself was try and bring some fun back to tube feeding, try and get everyone on board with it. So I created and started hand making the Tubey pads. So, and that is essentially how my business started. Once our Tubey pads, they're reusable, they're fun, they're exciting, and it demedicalizes tube feeds. So from that point, we have grown our business, and we are now Australia's one-stop shop for everything that is tube feeding accessories. So we do everything from tubey pads, we do modified backpacks, we do insulated bags, we do wheelchair covers, we do pouches to help those that are on NG. So everything from nasogastric tubes to to G tubes to pegs, everything. Our goal is to make life easier for everybody else. And if you have a feeding tube, we want you to celebrate it. We want you to be happy with it. We want to demedicalize it. We want to give you back some power over your tube. And through this journey, being able to hear people that, or kids, even adults, that they just want to enjoy their feeding tube. They want some kind of control back over it. They want to be able to celebrate it. So we want to get away from this, oh, we don't want everybody being, oh, can't touch that. We want to celebrate tube feeding. I'm a mum of a tube fed person. We live this life every day. I know what everybody goes through. We're here to help. And through our journey, we're always constantly evolving. So if there's something that you can't find and you need, please let us know. I have a team of 6 of us now. We're all working mums. We all understand and we all get it. So to have a community where we can celebrate tube feeding, everything entailed with tube feeding, it's our passion. Like, it means the world to us to be able to make life easier for you, and for you to go out and live your life and celebrate your feeding tube, whichever one it is. So each month we put up new versions of, like, different patterns and so forth of all of our products. So the first Saturday of each month, so this Saturday, there will be a new release of products up there. And we just want to keep it fun and exciting. So we also have our products listed with Hexa, who are a medical supply company. So if people are ordering through them, they can order our Tubifon products as well. And if you do have NDIS, we can provide you with tax invoices. You can order directly off the website. We do have an NDIS section there. So we can provide you with an invoice to your plan manager. Or as if you want to purchase yourself and then claim it back, we can also do that as well. But yeah, our goal is just to bring everyone together to celebrate tube feeding, and, you know, it's just enjoy life. And it doesn't matter if you feed in any which way, it's still feeding. It's still feeding. So
thank you so much. No, thank you. Thank you for that. Lots of really important buzzwords there, such as gaining choice, gaining autonomy, celebrating, easier life, demedicalizing, absolutely. And that's really, all of those buzzwords are the purpose of today. We want you all to feel you have the choice, and you have the choice to go back to your trusted healthcare professional and say, look, this is what I'm thinking. And that's exactly what home tube feeding is about. You have the choice. Last but absolutely not least is Natalie from Children's Nursing, up or down in Queensland. I'm not sure where Queensland is compared to Singapore. No, compared to Singapore. I'm not sure, because that's where I am now. Okay. I'm horrible at geography, but welcome, Nat, and I'm gonna just spotlight you.
Thank you.
And the floor is yours.
Thank you. First of all, Lena, thank you for facilitating this. I think this is a really opportunity, like a great opportunity for all of us as clinicians and brands, and also for families and for people with tubes as well, to really share our stories as well as try and find out what's out there. And thank you to everyone for sharing their individual stories as well. I think there's a lot of power in people with lived experiences developing products and showing some of these wonderful initiatives that are out there as well. My name is Natalie. Thank you for the introduction, Lena. I'm also here with Lisa, who is hiding in the participants over there. We formed Children's Nursing Queensland last year, and we are registered stomal therapists and specialist paediatric nurses. So essentially, Lisa and I were working in the Children's Hospital for a very long time. We both had slightly different backgrounds. So I worked with a lot of, I guess, surgical patients, and Lisa worked more with probably the long-term acute medical patients. And we started working in the stomal therapy team, and stomal therapy in paediatric land is a really interesting space. We support children who have holes of all different kinds, but part of that is obviously tube feeding as well, and looking at children with PEGs and surgically placed gastrostomies. And we loved our role there. We got to meet a lot of really wonderful families and help them through that journey from the kind of pre-operative space, I guess, all the way through that intraoperative space. And then once they were out in the community as well, which was great. But we did realize working in that role that we couldn't support families in the way that we wanted to. We wanted to continue to support these families and ultimately not to have them come back into hospital. The unfortunate reality is there just wasn't any services out there to keep these children out of the hospital. And so we were getting families having to come back in, pay for parking, try and find parking, which was a whole nother battle. You know, they'd have to pull these kids out of school for hospital appointments. They would miss out on work. They would have to take their siblings out, all sorts of reasons why hospital is not the best place for these children. And we couldn't find the right service to refer them to, so we thought we would do it ourselves. So we officially launched in January this year. And it has just been incredibly busy, which I think goes to show that there's a really big need for our service. Essentially, we offer face-to-face home visits as well as telehealth for those people that aren't located in Queensland. And we basically offer a full nursing service. So we can provide assessments, we can provide all of your documentation for the NDIS, we can provide management plans, we offer both acute and kind of, I guess, ongoing support as well for these families. And it's been a really good way to just keep them out of the hospital and support them in their home. We've had some really wonderful feedback, and I think it's been really useful for us to connect with some of these other fantastic people in the community. We know Tube Fund very well and a number of the other wonderful services as well. And I think what's been really echoed throughout this kind of chat here is that it's providing people a choice. It's giving people options for having different methods of care and understanding the different options that are available to them. So we're here not to support, not to replace the existing services in the hospital, but here basically to support families as a complementary service as well. I won't talk for too long because I know that there's questions as well coming, but you know, if we've got families out there listening and they're not sure if, you know, if they're getting everything that they need to from the NDIS and they need a review, or if they've got questions about their gastrostomy, they're not sure if it's the right size or the right type, or their skin's not healing, or they've got constant leaking, all reasons that they can get in touch with us. We don't require any kind of formal referral process, so families can just contact us directly with a call or an email or a Facebook message, and we'll get back to you normally within 24 hours, if not a bit sooner, and hopefully can provide some support for these families out there.
Thank you so much, Nat. That was awesome. No, thanks for being here today. And I think it's really, I personally think it's really important for anybody with a feeding tube to have a nurse at arm's length away. And yes, someone that can come out to their home. And Nat and Lisa from Children's Nursing do virtual assistance and consultations as well. But there's plenty of other nursing services just like them in the other states of Australia, and I know a few in Victoria. So if you're not linked up with a nurse that understands your feeding tube and can come to your home, please email me and I can give you some direction with who to reach in Victoria, or reach out to Nat and Lisa from Children's Nursing. And Nat, I also really echo your point around your purpose is not to replace the brilliant services that the hospitals are doing, which is exactly Tube Dietitians' purpose as well. As dietitians, we're a team of 4 and we are all very experienced in enteral nutrition and tube feeding. Our purpose is absolutely not to replace the brilliant hospital work, but more of to complement and go out to people's homes and look at their nutrition and make sure that their feeding regimen, it works for them. Yvonne, I think that's something, I don't know if it's something you said or someone else, but making your PEG work for you, not the other way around. And that's really important. I have had goosebumps all throughout the last 55 minutes. I really hope everybody, I wish we could be live together and actually feel the love I hope this was beneficial to everyone. We've got 5 minutes to for questions or comments. Feel free to unmute, say hello to the speakers, or feel free to sign off. Thank you so much for being here today, and I hope this event gave you a sense of belonging and community and love. Tube feeding with love.
Absolutely, Lena. Thank you. I just want to say thank you so much for holding this and for having us all here to celebrate tube feeding and getting this out into the community. We all want to support each other. We've all been at the beginning of a journey, and you're never alone. And I love that you're putting this out for people. So thank you. Thanks for having us.
No, that's all right. I before Tube Dietitian, I worked about 10 years in the hospital service. And then when I left out to the community, I felt very alone as a clinician. And it's really all you ladies that taught me about tube feeding at home and how to make it work for your life. So I'm truly indebted to you for holding my hand through my path with my clients. We've got a few comments saying, wonderful. Thanks, Sarah. Jamie.
I have a question for the children nurse guys, if that's all right.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Emma.
We are approaching our first family holiday, and I didn't really think it forward. We're going on a cruise. Is that something those guys are able to help assist managing? Because I found the cruise company not super helpful, or if they know of any families that have taken, we have 2 tubey kids, nasal gastric fed on cruises. That would be my question to them.
Yeah, look, really good question. I think when we're looking at things like holidays in general, including just overseas trips or going far away from home, it's really important that families have a management plan in case tubes are dislodged and things like that. So I would really encourage you, Emma, to get in touch with us directly to chat a little bit more in detail about that. I think it's just planning, like with any family, it's planning properly and making sure that you've got the right tools in place in case things go wrong. And hopefully, if you've got everything in place, things will go according to plan. I know some people, such as Stacey, has had a wonderful trip recently with her tube-fed son, and she might also be able to shed some light on how that's worked for her personally as a parent. I hope that's something okay to throw out there.
Yeah, totally fine. Yes. No, we just got back from a 3-week holiday from America. We finally went, you know what, after 6 years, we need to just spend some time and give back to our own kids. And so we took them to Disneyland. So yeah, traveling with a tubie, oh my goodness, was phenomenal. And yeah, it did take a lot of planning, but everything went really well. So hopefully I'll be able to, now that we're back, we got back yesterday, so we're all pretty tired today. But yeah, I want to try and get some of that information out there. But yeah, I can, yeah, letters and everything will be the big thing. But yeah, I can definitely see how Natalie and Lisa would be able to help you a lot there as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Thank you so much for that. I'll definitely reach out.
Can I just make a point? Emily, thank you, because I've lost track of the number of people in the UK who've contacted me who are coming to Australia to spend time with family and they can't access food. So Emily, thank you. I'm going to shoot your whole.net thing to them, if that's okay, and get them to order it while they're here.
Yeah, no problems at all. We can have it delivered to wherever they're staying.
And serendipity, I had no idea how to answer their questions, so thanks.
Thanks, Yvonne.
Sure to make it your own. Okay.
We've got just a question. I think, Sarah, you might be able to help. Are there any pre-teenage tube support groups in Australia? So Tanya has a 12-year-old client who would really benefit from a pre-teen support group. Does anybody know of any? There's Aussie Tubies on Facebook, of Aussie Tubie Mates. Are there any others, Sarah?
Yeah, we've got some linked on our website, but they're not specifically for tweens or teenagers. We do virtual support group chats for Tubie families, and we're, you know, if the need was there, we're certainly happy to do that for teenagers, because we do that for EOS diseases. So do feel free to get in touch with Aussie and we'll see what we can do. Yeah, it is a tough community that age group. My daughter had a tube when she was 7 and just had it removed before she was age 12. So yeah, it's certainly great for people if we can facilitate that. We would like to help.
Thanks, Sarah.
I have a question for Natalie and Lisa, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure, Abby.
So long story short, I'm on a NG tube and going through a little bit of a kerfuffle with NDIS and trying to get appropriate funding for the things I need. I was wondering if you guys would be, I know you mentioned about like NDIS and like doing reports for them. I was wondering if you guys are able to do sort of initially almost like a one-off so that I can take that to NDIS to then get the funding.
I think it's really unfortunate, Abby, that your story is not uncommon. You know, we hear a lot that families, and I say families because we normally are dealing with children, but we do also support adults as well, because there's no other nursing support that has that experience, I guess. So we do support adults too, but we hear this a lot where people are saying that they're not well supported with their consumables through NDIS. What we do offer is a comprehensive nursing assessment. And that's normally 1 to 2 hours. We really take our time and we get to know every single thing that we can about that person. So not just feeding, but also looking at cognition, communication, sleep, toileting, all of those sorts of things. And we can do a full nursing assessment. And with that comes some recommendations, whether it's to optimize care or for particular products. And we also include recommended consumables, and we include all of the supporting documentation and accompanying quotes that go with that. A lot of families find that that particular document is really useful to give to the NDIS and kind of guide their overall funding and budget. And often it just comes down to supporting clinically with some appropriate documentation for patients or for clients in that situation. So I'd really encourage you to reach out. We can offer those kind of assessments either face-to-face or via telehealth as well. And we have capacity coming up probably within the next 4 weeks to support families and children and adults as well in those situations. So yeah, please get in touch.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Abby. Thanks, Nat. All right, I think we're 3 minutes over time. I know everyone's got to rush and do their thing. So thank you so much to our beautiful speakers and the 44 of you that dialed in. And you'll have access to this recording after the session. So thank you.
Thanks so much, Lena.
Thanks, Lena. Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Thanks, Lena.